of your month to spend with us for the hour or so that we can spend together. Much appreciated.
Where'd you donate your hair?
Let's, yes, get the obvious out of the way.
So we guys do.
Definitely part of my reflection today. So, if those of you who don't know, I'm a Spokane tribal member, and hair has a lot of significant value and importance, and it's like almost like a time capsule on your head. But there's a lot of traditional value. And about 3 weeks ago, a great teacher and mentor of mine passed away. And so he was my uncle. Love the guy and definitely miss him. But by cutting my hair is a way that I get to honor him. It's a way to show respect. It's a sign of grieving. But he was a very important man in my life. Him and my mom would always go back and forth and joke with each other. But that's kind of the purpose. It did go to wigs for kids. They got the heavy bag of lots. But yeah, so that's and part of the reflection that I have today is talking about gratitude. One thing that I enjoyed spending with my uncle at the time was our coffee meetings. Every time we come into town from the res, he'd say, "Rob, are you ready for some coffee?" And I'd drop basically any meetings, anything that I was doing, because I knew how important it was for the both of us to express our gratitude towards one another. And one of the things that he liked to speak about was the man mentioned Providence Mission. So if this is your first time here, thank you for coming. My name is Robert. I'm one of the leadership members on the coalition, along with Barry, Rob, Bob, Christy, and Julie. And oftentimes he likes to speak about the guy mentioned Providence Mission as an expression of God's healing love, witnessed through the ministry of Jesus, steadfast in serving all, especially those who are poor and vulnerable. And again, if this is your first time, we start off this meeting with a little reflection. And there's this story in particular about this man mentioned in Providence Mission about 10 guys who had leprosy. And this man ends up healing all 10 from a distance. They didn't even approach him. And only one of them came back to express gratitude. And I feel like sometimes, as we talk about case management, sometimes it kind of feels like that when we're trying to put all of our effort into helping someone who may or may not even show gratitude towards the efforts that we're putting towards that individual. And this common theme of gratitude is cemented in going through difficult and adverse times. Again, multiple stories, the 3 men in the furnace showing gratitude and being pulled out of the story, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if you're familiar with that one. David, this king, would show gratitude towards his creator, throwing parades down the street. Jonah, the story of Jonah, a man who's in the belly of a fish, expressing gratitude through that hardship. We have Hosea, a man who was instructed by his creator to marry a prostitute and then go back after her again, and still expressing gratitude for what he was given. And even Mary and Joseph, as we come towards this Christmas season, expressing gratitude for residing in a barn temporarily as their son was born. I'm so grateful and so humbled that you guys keep coming back. And I appreciate your time, because time is precious, it's valuable, and I'm so grateful that we get to provide opportunities for case management and basically yoke ourselves, mirroring this express love with people who can't basically stand on their own quite yet. So again, I'm thankful for you guys attending today, and please keep coming back. We love hosting and love providing opportunities for education. Take my reflections for, I understand everyone has different backgrounds and belief systems. That's great. I don't want to push anything on anyone, but I'm so grateful for your listening ears and indulging me in that. So, okay, on to the coalition side of things. I'm going to go ahead and call up, before we dive into some components of case management, I'm going to call up some of our updates from the city. City Council rep, Valley, and is there anyone from the county with us today? Anyone from the county? I know Eric's here from the Valley. Sorry, I'm trying to order your copy. All right, so no one from the county. So we'll start with Nicolette. We'll go this way.
Hi guys, I'm Nicolette Ogletree. I'm the Spokane City Council Manager of Housing and Homelessness Initiatives. And I just wanted to invite all of you to the town hall that we are having on December 10th, which is this coming Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. It'll be in council chambers. And this is really a culmination of the series of roundtables that City Council had to get stakeholder feedback. It's probably didn't work well. Stakeholder feedback on changes to the Spokane Municipal Code. And so it's okay that you haven't gone to all the roundtables. If you want to show up at the town hall, we'll go over a lot of those key takeaways from those stakeholder engagements, and then also a set of proposals for code changes, as well as a report out of all of the town halls and some of the data and research that we did. So December 10th, I'll also send it to the listserv, but December 10th, 6:30 p.m., City Hall, Council Chambers.
Hey there.
Hi everyone.
You also cut your hair.
Yeah, I did. I noticed you cut yours after I cut mine.
Wow. Yeah. It was because of that.
Nice to see everyone. Thanks for having me. Eric Robinson, City of Spokane Valley. My announcements today are more regional events, not Valley specific. So I just want to remind people that Spokane Connect is coming up in January. It'll be this overlapping with the point in time count. So two separate events that both require lots of volunteer effort to be successful. So here are flyers to sign up as volunteers for the point in time count. I'll leave them on the stage. We'll have flyers to hand out at the next Homeless Coalition meeting for the Connect event, but digital copies of those in 4 different languages will hopefully be going out through Barry to the group as well right away, so we can start spreading the word on those. So some specific points: if your organization is interested in being a vendor at Spokane Connect or a sponsor, those sponsorships not only go for this event, but they also go for the Valley Connect in the spring, which is the same organizing group and kind of the same sort of event, but more focused on families at the beginning of the school year. You don't need to be homeless to attend these events. That's why the name isn't Homeless Connect anymore, it's Spokane Connect, because it encompasses several different events that are meant to serve people that are not just those experiencing homelessness, but people who need services. So SpokaneConnect.org is the website for the information about these various events, information about sponsorships. Please sign up if you can, or ask your organization to at any level. As I said, this event serves a lot of people, and it actually, your sponsorship serves multiple events. And then the point in time count, as most of you are probably familiar, if you haven't volunteered, please make a plan to volunteer this year. We need an accurate census of who's experiencing what in our community so that we can advocate for solutions that are needed, so that we can advocate for the dollars that are needed. Without an accurate idea of who's experiencing what in our community, we're at a disadvantage about what we want to do next and what our best course of action is. So this is really critical for our community, in addition to being mandated by the federal government to receive their dollars moving forward. So I don't have anything beyond that if there's no questions.
You said SpokaneConnect.org?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Right down here.
Greater Valley.
GDSN network, sport network meeting is it's the following week right after this, and it's at Opportunity Presbyterian Church on Pines. And there's about 20 or so different providers show up, and they're specifically working with families in the Spokane Valley area, including this often the Heart liaisons for the schools will show up, different service providers. So it's a great way to network and learn who's doing what in the valley, or if you have clients in the valley, to learn about other organizations that might be able to support. Thank you, Sherry.
Sure.
Can you repeat the acronym or the URL you said at the beginning, GBSN?
GVSA, Greater Valley Support Network, and that is a valley-specific group that's been meeting for some years, predating me.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
Ariel.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ariel Anderson. I'm with the CHHS department with the city of Spokane. So just a couple of updates. Thank you, Eric, for now stealing my thunder with the point in time count for TAC. So inclement weather beds. Hopefully, folks here have been trying to be very intentional about doing when we surge to include the Homeless Coalition listserv on that communication. And the hope is that you all have found it helpful to go to that Shelter Me app to get a sense of what beds are available. I guess what I'll say to that is that hopefully over the next several months that we can be looking at that data that's showing us where are we short beds based on those subpopulations, right? And where we may be, underutilized, where we can think as a community, how do we make funding decisions that make sense, right? So I'll look forward to, engaging in that community conversation moving forward. I think it's a little too early probably to tell right now with that data that we're capturing with the Shelter Me app. But still, interesting for those of you that are checking it out on a nightly basis. The other thing that I'll say is that the Continuum of Care Board, the executive committee, has agreed to push forward a request to the COC board this month to essentially extend out the current 5-year plan to take us to the end of February. And the reason for that is because, as you know, 5-year plan comes every 5 years. The point in time count is, of course, once a year, but as we move forward with developing and kind of hitting the reset button with this new 5-year, we thought it prudent to take into consideration the feedback from those folks that are in shelters and that are currently unsheltered to give us, as those PIT volunteers, feedback on what is missing, right? And what is it that we can improve upon in our system. So it would, at least in my mind, and I think for many others, be a shame to miss out on that opportunity and not take advantage of the fact that that we've got folks that we want that feedback and that input. So TBD on that COC that will go before the board in a couple of weeks. The other thing that I'll say is that for the PIT questions themselves, we are not wanting to do 25, 30 questions, right? So for those of you that have been active in the PIT in the past, many times those questions, it's just a very long list. Now HUD, of course, has required questions that we must ask, so that's non-negotiable. But really what we're looking to do is about maybe 2 or 3 local questions. One of those, and I'm looking at Maurice because he's right there, and he was one of the folks last year that just brought up the point that one of the things we don't ask is, particularly in the context of families, but I would argue that this is, irrespective of the subpopulation, is are you doubled up, right? And are you couch surfing? So I've been working with Sarah Miller, which is part of the HEART program, and she is helping us kind of develop a draft question that would go to this very question. In the past, if you remember, if you're out on the streets as an example, right, and somebody says, yeah, I was able to stay at my friend's house last night, well, okay, the survey just stops, right? Well, all right. I mean, just because you were able to sleep somewhere, you were lucky enough to find a space does not then mean that we should just stop that conversation. So just know, I want to just, punctuate that feedback is critical, right? And that if there's opportunity to make changes, to course correct, that we're going to do that, and we need to do that as a community, right? So it's the only way that we're going to improve. If there's anybody here, we'll push out a draft of those PIC questions to the Homeless Coalition if it already hasn't been done, so that we can, again, just elicit more feedback moving forward. So those are my updates for now.
Great idea, by the way.
Question?
Yes. I've been looking for the Shelter Me app. You say shelter. I haven't found it on like Google or is it somewhere else?
So you can literally just Google Shelter Me App Spokane, and that should be the first thing, the first hit that comes up.
ShelterMeSpokane.org.
Or that.
Thank you.
Very good. And again, that is, and ought to be embedded on the Homeless Coalition, on that push out, with the communication when we have surged, so.
Question over here?
Yeah, I was wondering if the PIC count, is there any way to differentiate for folks who are having to engage in sex work for a place to stay? Because they had a place to stay last night, but obviously not a place that's safe or belongs to them.
I'm not sure I'm completely ready to unpack that on this, in this particular, but I think it's a good question. I guess my only thing would be, how is that any different than just asking, continuing on with that conversation? If somebody says, yes, I was able to stay somewhere last night, irrespective of where that may have been, but I'm happy to, maybe this is part of that conversation that we have on the Homeless Coalition list, or subcommittees.
Or maybe, like, just a general question of whether the place is able to stay.
Yeah, and what I would ask of anybody here is that on the subcommittee levels through the continuum of care, these, we've been kind of going back and forth with the point in time count questionnaire and what those local questions ought to be. So that also is a good space to bring that up and, have that more robust discussion, so.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the updates and your time. Maurice, come on up if you want to make your announcement. And then before I forget, I also have, in the spirit of gratitude and celebration of life, December 19th, Chaz Benny Murphy is holding a memorial. And is there a time? 11 a.m. That's December 19th at the Denny Murphy Clinic. Go ahead, Maurice.
Thanks. By the way, in 2023, 200 people experiencing homelessness passed away according to the medical examiner's office. And people in the homeless community die at a rate that's 23 times greater than the general population. So we need to remember that. After everything's done this morning, most of you got, and a few of you read, my emails about Groundhog Day and the other one about the excluded middle. That is, we have holes in our services that need to be filled. And one of the discussions that we're going to start today, and we're going to start over there in that corner, is a model built around a very successful model in Austin, Texas, called Community First Village, which sits on, I think it's 50 acres. They've got about 370 people. It is a complete community designed to meet the needs of people emerging from chronic homelessness. And it is working. Nothing's perfect in this world, so I don't want the perfect to get in the way of the practical. But it's a model that's working. And I want to start a discussion about, okay, what would that look like? What could it look like here in Spokane? For folks who are emerging from chronic homelessness, for whom traditional housing options simply aren't going to work, at least not yet. And the feedback that I've gotten has been very positive, and we'd like to keep that conversation going. So after everything's done, I'll be over in that corner, and hope somebody will come join me and we'll start a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maurice, for your time. Okay, so we'll go ahead and have some discussion on case management. We'll have the guest speaker come up. Oh, that's me. All right. So, case management. First of all, before we jump to that slide, how many of you in here provide or have provided case management? Oh, nice. So, really? Nothing? Call out, but, so what, we're going to just brief case management 101, just educational, which some of you may already be familiar with. And I'd like to kind of, and how many are unfamiliar with kind of some of the principles of case management? Yeah, okay, good. So this will be good for the three of you. The rest of you, it could be a nice refresher. Other questions, and the purpose why I'm asking some of these questions is at the end of this, we're going to jump into a scenario where you guys get to interact with each other to see what you come up with in this situation with this person. And really, case management, it revolves around asking questions, right? That's a key component of providing case management. But one of the analogies that I like to associate with case management is, how many of you remember the time before cell phones and you would keep everyone's phone number in a phone book and write it down because you couldn't remember it? Those were some awesome days. I miss those days. But so think of case management as this phone book, or this little phone book of relationships. Okay, we're getting if you're a case manager, you're getting this little, developing this phone book of relationships with the person that you're serving. And a part of relationship and relational value is gauging the temperature of your relationship with that person. In a case management scenario, sometimes that temperature could be cold and freezing, and sometimes it could be extremely hot. But the objective of case management at some point is hopefully to be a nice sunny day with a cool breeze, and that you are progressively moving towards that person's goal in a good, timely manner. So, I'm a social worker, that's part of my background, and so I teach at Eastern Washington University on specific core competencies that are related to being a social worker. Some of those competencies are engagement, establishing a relationship, right? The next one is assessment. You're assessing the motivation of that person's motivation to want to engage in services with you. You're providing some form of intervention, right? After that assessment has been completed, you're developing a goal, right, that person is trying to accomplish based off the list of elements. And you can go ahead and pop up that slide. This is kind of a reflection of what some of those elements would look like. And then you're providing an evaluation, right? And then I like to add, this isn't one of the social worker competencies, but in my experience with case management, it's important to recognize the importance of eligibility and organizational emphasis, right? You all basically raised your hand saying that you provide case management in some form or fashion, right? But there's also eligibility criteria related to how someone engages in your case managed supportive services. And it goes back to that organizational emphasis. What type of service does your organization provide? Is it treatment related, right? Is it housing related? Is it medical related? There are different organizational emphasis that's put and can kind of direct someone's engagement in case management. Another key factor I like to include into case management is getting records, right? You want to know, and sometimes this is utilized with HMIS or CMIS, what's it called now? HMIS. HMIS system, right? To see where that person has engaged in before. Are we duplicating services? Or maybe someone has become ineligible for a specific service. And then you have to kind of do some data mining to find out why. And another element of case management is advocacy. Right? You're navigating systems all day long, right? System after system, and this is going to kind of tie into the scenario that we get into. But you're diving into different systems, advocating for this person, identifying the barriers associated with that individual, and you are advocating on their behalf, basically, because there's some insecurity that they are not able to quite yet do that independently on their own. And so you're addressing that. So it's really a continuum. Case management is a continuum process. You're assessing, you're stratifying the risk, you're planning, you're implementing coordination, you're following up, and here's the key one that sometimes we never get to working in this population: transition of care. Transitioning someone into a different realm of service. And so sometimes our caseload becomes stagnant, right? It becomes cold. That temperatures become cold. What elements do I need to address to progress this person on to the next stage of achieving their goal? And here are some of the elements of case management that you may be addressing with someone. Public benefits. What benefits are eligible for, someone is eligible based off of potential income, based off of potential illness, based off of records, right? And then we go into medical records and immigration relief. There's certain scenarios, maybe case managers or world relief who are working in this realm. There's the legal center, right? Maybe there's a background of legal stuff going on with someone that needs to get resolved in order for them to progress forward. And that's something that you have to address first. Mental health needs. This is a big one, right? Because we have, finite resources available to the individuals who we serve based off of insurance coverage, right? It goes back to eligibility, or maybe even co-occurring disorders, wrestling with addiction in some form or fashion that makes them ineligible for service. Permanent housing, right? We need more housing. Bottom line, there's not enough in town, and then there becomes lists. And so how do we then advocate for the increase or rental support, prevention of someone entering into homelessness? Food clothing, individual counseling, education and job training, going down to treatments, those wrestling with addiction, child services, family reunification, right? All of these are different elements that I imagine you guys are like, yeah, I know, I get it, Robert, that you're providing. But I don't want to sell what you're doing short. Because going back to the reflection, sometimes that acknowledgement of gratitude isn't given by the person who you are serving, because maybe you're their 5th case manager this year. And it's like, okay, what is this person gonna really do different for me that the other person didn't? So I want to again thank you for all the case management support and services that you're doing in our community, because oftentimes enough it doesn't go acknowledged. So a classic church tradition is to basically turn to your neighbor and say thank you. Yes. It just feels good to hear it sometimes,
Thank you, Robert.
The one for you are welcome. Okay. So now you have a basic understanding of case management. I want to get hands, just so you know, in this case, how many people work in the treatment realm? Treatment, and this is key. Keep those hands up so people can see. This is important for the scenario. How many people work in treatment? Okay. How many people work in housing? Okay. Wow. How many many have restrictions on the age group of those who you serve? As far as we only serve 55 and older, we only serve youth, we only serve adults. Okay. I see those hands. How many work in insurance coverage? Where's Christy? No, so we don't have this, may be difficult, but we'll try. Again, case management is about asking questions. So I'm going to read the scenario to you. We're going to play some Christmas music while you guys bingo and ask each other questions as being a case manager in the next steps you need to take with this individual, okay? So let's say this individual is on your caseload. Temperatures getting cold, getting discouraged, nothing, no movement's happening. This is a 57-year-old male who self-manages his chronic pain with fentanyl use. Due to the cost of medications and the insurance spend down associated with this coverage plan. The client's independence and mobility are declining, and he's starting to experience incontinence. He presents to be eligible for adult family home placement, but declines a home and community referral through aging and long-term care because he states, they're going to take all my money. The client states again, I can't live like this anymore. What's the point? So I'm going to read it one more time before we break out into discussion. There's a 57-year-old male who self-manages chronic pain with fentanyl use. Due to the cost of his medications and the insurance spend down associated with his coverage plan. Client independence and mobility are declining, and he's starting to experience incontinence. He presents to be eligible for adult family home placement, but declines a home and community referral through aging and long-term care because he states they're going to take all my money. I can't live like this anymore. What's the point? Okay, ready? And then afterwards, I'll bring you guys back in, and I'm going to go around the room to see what you come up with and what questions you have. Okay, ready? Go. Anyone back here? All right. I'll get everyone's attention over here. All right, so I'll start back here. Kirsten. Number one. Okay, so what are some next steps that we can do for this gentleman?
Well, you said that he has a background and an eligible, which would be fantastic. Because if you have a spend down, then you don't have Medicaid. Medicaid is a benefit for the adult family homes. You have to have active Medicaid for that. And so I would work with COPES in aging long-term care to get the spend down figured out, so then that Medicaid will go back active. But we would first start by putting him at Jerry Ann's warming center, get him off the street first. But you also have an SUD factor, you have a medical factor, and so I'm assuming he's probably not engaged in medical services, and so that's where we would come into play with getting him connected into getting some of those incontinence issues figured out. And then trying to get him into treatment if that's something he's choosing, but ultimately, it's his choice.
Okay, good. What else? Let's go in this direction. Who's brave enough to? You pointed at her. No. Anyone back here? How can you help this individual? Danny, did you have a good group conversation?
Our smoke was right there.
Right here? Selena. Thank you for being so brave, Selena.
Okay, I'll do my best. So we had, Unique was telling us how she would sit down with the person and try to figure out why he's afraid somebody's gonna steal them or take the money. And then just kind of work through each individual scenario of like, let's get you housing. Let's just kind of go through systematically. What am I gonna say? Go ahead.
Okay, so what I would do is like sit down with this individual and be like, okay, let's make a list of everything that you are willing to do and what you're not willing to do, and like how can we meet in the middle. I know with addiction, fentanyl, it makes it a little bit more difficult, especially when it comes to finding shelter, because there's like low barrier, high barrier. Of course, you want this individual to be successful, which is more difficult in a low barrier setting. So just trying to figure out like what they're willing to do. I think with the spend down, and correct me if I'm wrong, this individual receives like SSDI. I think that's that's where that comes from. So they have an income, so that helps as well. So just like sitting down with this person and just like, what work are you willing to put into helping yourself, and what do you need from me to help support that?
Good. What about this table here? You guys were writing stuff down. Who wants to be? Oh, all the fingers. Cheryl's.
Public speaking.
I'm not really sure we did it right. We more or less made a list of motivational interviewing questions so we could get to know him better and get to know what he's willing to do, what he's tried before, discussing a time that he was comfortable in his life so that we could, try to, just a lot of motivational interviewing, I think is what we did.
Good. So I'm hearing establish relationship, figure out what's going on with aging and long-term care, figure out what's going on with insurance. What else? Oh, we got one right here. A little closer.
Speak up.
Okay, now they can't hear me. Okay, so what we suggested first about his final comment about not being abused anymore, to have him have a risk assessment then for suicidal. thoughts or actions, and then if that was fine, then, maybe talk with them, about possible inpatient, help with methadone, the fentanyl. And, we agreed with that, so we're just getting readings of everything right now, okay? So, well, hopefully. Then we would, have someone from the community come here and meet with them. Make it more personal, not just, you're gonna take my money. Let them meet someone and build a relationship with him, just like with us and him. And then, if the agreement continuing, we've had people, accepted in a home. The home would come and meet this individual. Let them know, this is where we're gonna have 24-hour nursing care, where you're gonna have your medications, you're gonna have your room, you're gonna have a warm place to live, build it up, think, oh my God, yeah, this would be perfect for me. This would be, great. And then, like where we're at, we've had some people, come and take the client, or we've taken the client to the home to actually see the home. So they can see, oh my God, this would be my room,
No, you did great. Good job. So I heard something new. So addressing the risk for suicide ideation, right? Addressing the risk of that statement, right? That concerning statement. We have establishing a relationship, working on insurance, home and community support. Maurice, what else?
I just want to talk real quick about the suicidal ideation. For many people, that's the result of losing hope. They've just given up. I was interviewing a doctor at the WSU for my documentary on the opioid fentanyl crisis. We were finishing up, and he made a statement that stuck with me. And we were talking about hope, and he goes, hope. Yeah, 10 cc's of hope is some of the most powerful medicine I know. And I think that we as service providers or working with this community need to keep that in mind. The issue isn't suicide, although that is an issue. The issue is why. And a lot of times the why comes down to they've just given up. They don't have hope of something better. And without that hope, you and I might have the same ideations. And none of us are exempt from it. And so, again, as Dr. Rolfe said, 10 cc's of hope. Yeah, that's some of the most powerful medicine I know. We need to be giving out 10 cc's of hope with every one of our people that we work with.
Thank you very much. So again, I heard something new. I heard addressing the risk, establishing a relationship, dealing hope and empowerment, addressing insurance, addressing home and community. What else? This is a great case. I mean, it's coming together. I see your hand, but I'm being gravitated towards some health risks that haven't been addressed yet. I'm kind of being gravitated towards over in this direction. Or maybe even Dr. Lutz, is he still in the room? No? All right. So what else can we address with this further? So the list is coming together nicely.
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony. I'm a student. One thing I'd like to know of this individual is if they have any Narcan or Naloxone on them, or around what they use, and if they use themselves, or if they use the people around them. Another thing I'd like to address is the incompetence, asking them what we can do for them in the moment today as to when they build a relationship and scheduling follow-up as, a method to continue that relationship with them. Even more, I think through my experience in this rotation on street med, I found that some people aren't ready to be housed yet. They're not ready to look at me. It's scary for them. And so slowly introducing things, one, like having motivation, motivating the skills, and asking them about their goals, but also keep in mind that, 10 goals at one time is a lot for some people, and trying to manage one goal at a time is the best way to build a relationship. In my experience in this line of work.
We can place a referral to pain management and get that process for him and get him involved in pain management to address whatever is causing that pain.
Awesome. So yeah, that's going to be a big one too, right? To get that referral into managing his pain appropriately. Because even if we get to the point of adult family home placement, it's going to be really difficult finding adult family home placement for someone who's openly using an illegal substance that's not prescribed by a provider. So we want to tackle that. Ooh, yes, the city section or the public. We have an hand raised here.
Okay, if I could just for 1 second give a shout out to 2 people who actually taught me this. Julie Garcia and Jerry Ann. So with the Salvation Army and Jules Helping Hands went ahead and Camp Oakland, and one thing that we discovered is a lot of people who are in crisis and who are out there medicating themselves don't have documents for these things. So important for case managers to use, make sure that they have their documents, make sure that we are talking to the state to make sure that they have their ID, their social security card, and if they're eligible for their Medicare card. Because if you're on the streets, where are you keeping these documents? For those who are housed, for those who are in a shelter, they have the benefit of keeping their documents together. But those who are out there in the street, who are being kicked out, who are being surrounded, all these places, how do you keep their documents together? How do you keep their documents safe out of the elements? So that's just one thing I wanted to mention. Also with an insurance card, because if you had AppleCare, if you had Medicare or Medicaid, how are you showing that, or how are you proving that if you don't have state ID?
Good. Important documents are a key factor. So I've heard getting important documents for managing pain appropriately, addressing the risk. We got building relationships. We got empowering. We got addressing insurance and home and community. Man, you guys are great case managers. What else on this side of the floor, maybe? Oh yeah, you got it.
So I think just continuing on with the motivational interviewing, my first thoughts were the suicidal ideation, some comfort care for the incontinence, pants, depends, but really after the relationship building, and to this point over here, I didn't catch your name, the goals, we've got to ask open-ended questions and figure out what this client's goals are, because just because I have a really good plan for them, if they're not invested, probably not going to get there. But if I can help them for their next small goal of when was the time you were happy, what feelings, what comfort, what's your dream, what's your next step, and have all the tools and the training for your team, but take enough time in the relationship building to identify the client's goal, and then if it aligns, help them meet it, and if not, have a good referral.
Yes, and so again, something new. Addressing someone's right to self-determination, right? Seeing what their goal is going to be, along with important documents, along with appropriate health care, addressing the risk of concerning statements, empowering folks, building that relationship I've heard of just about every time, addressing insurance, home and community, and I saw a hand up back here.
We'll be real quick right now.
Yeah.
Well, because I don't have any medical, unfortunately, according to your claim, first, you try to take care of the fentanyl problem first. There's nobody who's on any kind of drug is going to think clearly on the decisions they gotta make. But then also too, he's definitely afraid of losing his money. In his case, there's some real serious trust problems. So finally, a good counselor could maybe get to know him and find out why he thinks that way. And hopefully then, maybe because he's getting help, he'll get the hope that he feels from the Ray talked about. See, maybe think, because the reason why he's not saying you don't want to do anymore, you may think nobody doesn't care. You may not be suicide, you may just want to find out somebody cares. So take care of the fentanyl and have him talk to him and see why he's that way. Might give him hope, and then maybe might be more cooperative when you offer the suggestions you have for him.
Thank you very much, and I love your shirt, by the way. So why did we do this exercise today? Why would we do this in this expression of gratitude? And why do you think we did this exercise today? I don't know.
Oh, come on.
No. So part of this exercise as we go into the new year is to shake some of the cobwebs and the rust off of how we are providing case management. Hearing the different perspectives that each of us, each service provider in here brings, and to help empower you as case managers to take on a different lens in addressing someone's needs appropriately. So as we enter into this new year, I am very grateful again for each of your points of views in how you case manage the folks that we serve here. So that is our December Homeless Coalition. I hope it was helpful for you. Again, thank you so much for coming back each month and letting me occupy your time for an hour. And we will see you in the new year, and my hair will be a little bit longer next time. Thank you guys.